What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we are going to look at my introduction to Shiftry in the Go Battle League, in the Great League, and let's kick it off here. Let's get right into the games. The first one is up against Maddie F Baby, and Maddie F will be using the stock Great League team here. So Altaria, Azumaril, and Registeel, and when he switches into Azumaril, I switch into Shiftry, and I hit it with some Leaf Blades. And this is this is how a lot of the games wind up going with this team, is players will switch into Azumaril against your Azumaril, and then you can switch into your grass type and catch them there. And then from there, they don't have their Azumaril, you still have your Azumaril, which is pretty good against both of their Pokemon that are left, and that pretty much more or less is enough to let you win the game. So that's a little bit of an oversimplification, but we are going to be looking at the basics here today, and that is what we're going to be looking at in most of these games. So here we have a Registeel Azumaril against a Registeel Altaria, and even though we do take that Focus Blast there, we'll be able to Flash Cannon down their Registeel, and then we can, we don't quite get to a Flash Cannon against their Altaria, but we will be able to get to an Ice Beam against this Altaria before it can deal too much damage and finish off our Azumaril. So pretty straightforward there. And in this game, I think we play against the same team, but with a Registeel lead. So again, my opponent is in a pretty tough spot. And this is basically the most common build, the most common meta team is this Registeel, Altaria, Azumaril. Now, one of those Pokemon is Azumaril, and the other two Pokemon lose to Azumaril. So, obviously, Azumaril is pretty good, and everybody, this is no secret. The Great League revolves around Azumaril. And basically, I was playing all of these teams. There was a lot of lag in Season 1, and I think that led to a lot of frustration. I kept switching my teams. I kept trying to try out different leads, and basically I was trying random lead plus Azumaril and Registeel. And I would notice a lot of these times I wound up switching in my Azumaril to my opponent's Azumaril. Then I was like, why do I keep doing this to myself? You know what? I'm just going to put Azumaril in the front. And then Azumaril started switching into me. And basically nobody's running these grass-type Pokemon, or at the very least they are afraid to switch their grass-type Pokemon into your Azumaril. So here we have an example of that. It's Azumaril against an Altaria, so they switch into their Azumaril, which lets me eat their Azumaril with my grass-type, and they still have their grass-type. Spoiler alert, they have a Meganium incoming, so they still have their Meganium in the back. They're going to let their Azumaril die and then bring in their Meganium here. Now, I know both of my Pokemon can deal with Altaria pretty well, so I just have to line up whichever one I think can deal with Meganium the best. So I'm going to go with my Registeel, and the matchup should be pretty easy from here. They have to land an Earthquake. They bait me with a Frenzy Plant, and my opponent this game does pretty well with the baits, but even still, I just had such an advantage by winning the lead and then killing their Azumaril that they're not really going to have too much of a shot here. So we tie, or they just barely beat me to an Earthquake, but then their Meganium dies to my Azumaril, and then I'm able to Ice Beam their Altaria, and I still have a full health Azumaril here. So this one is going to be pretty straightforward. In this next game, I believe it is the same lead. I believe it is also against an Altaria here. Let's see, yeah. So Again, up against Altaria, they have to switch. So I switch into Shiftry, and this time they Ice Beam me, and I believe they just shield all of my Leaf Blades. No, but they do shield my second Leaf Blade, so I just let my Shiftry die here. I dealt enough damage to that Azumaril. I'm going to come in with Registeel, which luckily eats an Ice Beam as well. I don't think my opponent played that super great there. And then I'm able to Flash Cannon, kill their Azumaril, and then I have Registeel against their Altaria, and they have a Victory Bell in the back. So Registeel is going to be able to take care of this Altaria, and then we are Azumaril up against Victory Bell, but I have 2 shields to my opponent's none now, and just a whole bunch of energy, so Shiftry was able to get me those shields because it took a shield off of Azumaril, and I didn't have to use my shield. So the team that I'm going to be using in this video here, as I just showcased a little bit, is Shiftry with Snarl, Leaf Blade, and Foul Play, Azumaril with Bubble, Ice Beam, and Hydro Pump, and then Registeel with Lock On, Flash Cannon, and Focus Blast. And these next games are going to be pretty straightforward as well. Like I said in this video, I'm just kind of showing the ropes of what Shiftry can do, and for this video, Shiftry could basically be any grass type Pokemon, but you'll see how that goes here. So we are up against a Toxicroak. It's a good matchup for Azumaril. I do have to be careful of the Sludge Bombs, but you know what? No luck's given. I know it's a Mud Bomb, so I have no fear. This time, I do think it's going to be a Sludge Bomb, and it's a Mud Bomb once again. So wasn't maybe counting that properly, or they baited me. They do wind up eventually switching into Azumaril, so I switch into Shiftry, and they get the Ice Beam off before I'm able to get the Leaf Blade, but they are all out of shields here, so I know I'm going to be able to Leaf Blade them down. They're probably going to bring the Toxicroak back in. Actually, they go for a Registeel, which lets me build up to a Foul Play before the Shiftry dies as well. So then I bring in my own Registeel, and when my opponent brings in Toxicroak to Mud Bomb me, I can just switch over to Azumaril, Ice Beam that down, and I will lose my Azumaril here to Registeel, but then I can bring in my own Registeel and get to a Focus Blast real quick. So there we had just, taking care of their Azumaril after shields were down pretty handedly. Now we're up against a Cherrim Sunny form. And Cherrim Sunny form is an interesting Pokemon because it looks like a grass-type Pokemon, but it is actually more of a fire-type Pokemon because it has that Weather Ball Sunny. And Solar Beam is just such an expensive charge move for it to use. Obviously, it is still a grass-type Pokemon, so we are still going to be going with the Ice Beams, but because I shielded both of their Solar Beams, they go ahead and switch into Azumaril. We switch into Shiftry, all shields are down, so they actually have a Play Rough and are able to kill my Shiftry. So that is a little bit surprising here, but we bring it into Registeel, and they are going to get a Hydro Pump, so pretty good showing by my opponent here. When they go into the Cherrim, I switch to catch the Weather Ball on my Azumaril, and then I'm able to Ice Beam that down. They have Skarmory as their last Pokemon, which is going to be very easy for Registeel to deal with. But this was actually a pretty close matchup here, and the Skarmory won't be able to take down the Registeel, even though Shiftry was able to do its job. Oh, that's right. Yeah, this was the game Shiftry wasn't able to do its job, actually. So you do really have to watch out for those play rough Azumarils, and well played by my opponent there, but we were still able to get the W. Here's another team that I tried out as well. So Vigoroth, and Vigoroth's going to come up against an Azumaril, which is a little bit of a dicey one. You wind up having to use all of your shields, and that's what my opponent winds up doing here. And they're body slamming away, but eventually, okay, they're going to give us one more body slam. I'm going to shield, and they're going to say, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm going to switch to Azumaril. So I go ahead, switch to Shiftry, and start throwing some Leaf Blades. So it's an even shield scenario right now. I know this one's an Ice Beam, and I go ahead and just throw some Leaf Blades at them, and they do shield that second Leaf Blade. So now I go into Registeel. I know that my Flash Cannon can kill their Azumaril, and so from this point, we did a CMP tie, so I do wind up using my Flash Cannon. When my opponent switches to Vigoroth, I switch over to Azumaril, and they counter that switch by switching to Deoxys there. I throw out some Ice Beams, and they try to farm me down, and they do get it, but then a lock-on kills the Deoxys, and they shame concede after that point. So yeah, Shiftry not quite being the star of that matchup maybe, but it still is an integral part of this team. The one thing that I have that a lot of these other teams don't have is just an answer to Azumaril. And here we do see an answer to Azumaril. It's an Alolan Raichu, but you know what? This answer to Azumaril also dies pretty hard to Shiftry, so they Thunder Punch me a few times. I just go ahead and build up some energy because I know I won't die to those Thunder Punches, and then I have enough time to foul play this Meganium, and I even throw another Leaf Blade before I die, and that hits a shield because my opponent is so afraid of it. Meganium is another really good grass-type Pokemon, but it does struggle a little bit when you are at a shield disadvantage, and the fact that my Shiftry was able to get a shield from the Meganium is just icing on the cake here. So I build up some energy on the Azumaril, and that's going to let me get another shield off of this Meganium. They will Frenzy Plant me down here, and I'm just going to hang onto this shield because that is better served on my Registeel. I don't even bother shielding this one. I say, you know what, I'll shield the next one. I build up to a Flash Cannon, and I knock that Meganium down. And that game would not have been possible without the Shiftry building that energy so quickly, scaring my opponent into using another one of their shields, and also just dealing so much damage to that Meganium. So obviously, in a lot of the clips that we've looked at so far, Shiftry could basically be any grass-type Pokemon, and this wasn't really so much an ad for Shiftry as it was for just, hey, play a grass type. And hopefully some of these upcoming clips and some of the other clips that I'm featuring throughout the week as part of this Shiftry week will illustrate why I think Shiftry is such a good and well-rounded grass-type Pokemon. I did kind of just group similar clips together, so I think these are the most basic ones that we're going to be looking at today. And you'll see my ranking kind of fluctuates all over the place throughout these videos, but I played Shiftry for about 4 days during Season 1 of the Go Battle League. And in that time, I climbed up over 150 ratings points after I got familiar with playing the team. And I think that Shiftry is just so good. I mean, I was trying all of these different things, and I just couldn't get them to work. And eventually, I landed on Shiftry, and I think it's really good. Obviously, there's other grass-type Pokemon that you can play, but I think Shiftry is just really well-rounded with that dark-type coverage that it is able to answer even other things that might switch into it. So let's take a look at this last selection of clips here. And in this first game, we are going to be playing against Correspondent 1, and my Azumaril is up against a Swampert. So this is a winning match, but I will have to correctly bait the Sludge Bomb, or shield the Sludge Bomb, and not get baited by the Hydro Cannon. So there goes a Hydro Cannon. I don't shield, and then he immediately uses his move again, so I know it's another Hydro Cannon. Small mistake by my opponent there. I just keep firing the Ice Beams at him, and then this one I do go ahead and shield, and it is the Sludge Wave. So kind of do just have my opponent's number there. They switch into Azumaril, I switch into Shiftry, and because I saw that my opponent had Swampert, I'm going to go ahead and preserve this Shiftry now. I build up to a second Leaf Blade, I kill my opponent's Azumaril, and then my opponent brings in Skarmory. Well, obviously they weren't just going to bring the Swampert back in, but look at all of this damage that I deal to the Skarmory in the meantime. Skarmory's down to half of its health, so that's pretty important. They switch into Swampert. I say, not in my house. I switch into my Azumaril immediately, and kill their Swampert, and yeah, then I'm able to kill their Skarmory and finish off the match. So I used an extra shield that I probably didn't have to there, but you can see just how much damage a Shiftry was able to deal with to that Skarmory if this was any closer. Here we have my opponent switch from their Swampert into a Hypno, which again is something that Shiftry can deal with. So we do take a lot of damage there because it was an Ice Beam Hypno, but we're going to be able to build to these Leaf Blades so fast. My opponent's going to have to shield. I shield their second Ice Punch, and then I'm able to get to a Leaf Blade before my opponent gets to another Ice Punch. So we're even there. They bring in a Skarmory. So I go ahead and I just switch back into my Azumaril because I know that Azumaril is going to be good against both of my opponent's remaining Pokemon here. I don't quite get that Hydro Pump off, but I just go into my Registeel, and this will assumedly at some point make them bring out their Swampert, but I'm going to Focus Blast their Skarmory. They switch to Swampert, and I do have that shield still here now. You can see my Shiftry just has the smallest amount of HP left, but that is enough to take down the Swampert, and then my opponent throws in the towel. This is a tricky matchup here, so we're up against Wigglytuff, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see the true power of Shiftry this game, because Shiftry does have a weakness to Charm. So we go ahead and switch into Registeel to eat my opponent's Play Rough, so we wasted their energy, but they now still get to keep their lead advantage. We will be able to blow their shields here on our Registeel, but now we've lost our Registeel, so things are looking a little bit dicey. Luckily, I can shield the Sludge Bomb here, farm down the Toxicroak, and because we got their shields, now we can Hydro Pump this Wigglytuff, and now we just have to hope that there is something in the back for Shiftry to be able to beat. Like I said, Shiftry is pretty well-rounded, and because of that, we are able to take down this Deoxys defense form. The Rock Slide almost kills us, but not quite, and we get off a foul play and take a big chunk of that Deoxys down. For the last clip that I want to show off in this video, we have an Azumaril mirror matchup, and this is tricky because obviously I want to switch into my Shiftry and kill this Azumaril. But if I do that, my opponent's going to switch into their Skarmory or Altaria or something like that. My Shiftry is going to be able to deal a little bit damage, but I'm going to get effectively countered, and that's not going to be a good place for me. So I just keep on going ahead and using my Azumaril, and I have to hope that my Shiftry is going to have some use in the back of the matchup, regardless of how it comes up. And I don't know why I did this here, but I used Hydro Pump and just wasted all of my energy. I probably could have snuck in 2 Ice Beams. I don't know what I was thinking there. But then I'm forced to go into Registeel and try to farm down this Azumaril. They're just able to hit me with an Ice Beam, which just lets me keep on farming away. And then I see a Stunfisk. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I definitely want to get that lined up against my Azumaril. So I switch into Azumaril, and their other Pokemon is a Deoxys defense form. So I have a shield. I'm going to go ahead and use that shield for my Shiftry here. I'm going to build up a little bit more energy before firing off a Leaf Blade. And then I try to fire off one more Leaf Blade, but they have me here. But you know what? Just that time, the fact that they weren't able to really counter my switch is going to let me farm up a little bit more energy with this Registeel and Focus Blast, and then eventually kill their Stunfisk. So pretty good by Shiftry there, you know. Shiftry was good against all 3 of my opponent's Pokemon, so it turns out I probably could have just freely switched into Shiftry at any time. My opponent would have brought in Deoxys defense form, and Shiftry would have still been able to deal a lot of damage to that. But Shiftry is just a really good, well-rounded Pokemon. And like I said, we'll talk about some more reasons for just why that is in some upcoming videos. And we'll also just look at some more highlights of my games. I hope this was a good introduction to Shiftry, but I really enjoyed playing with it, and it's gotten me a lot of wins in both Season 1 and Season 2. So we are going to look at a lot more games that Shiftry was able to bring me some wins in. That's going to be it, though, for this video. I hope you guys will join me on Shiftry Week. If you want to, feel free to subscribe to see when the next video gets uploaded, and leave a like to let me know you enjoyed the video. That's going to be it for me, guys, today. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace!